hunt like this, where I get to come back to a unit that I've hunted before, is a ton of fun because you get to learn on your first hunt and go to school on what you learned and apply that to the next hunt. So I feel really lucky because I get to come back to an area where Jerry Pritchard and I hunted here 3 years ago. And this time I get to hunt the later season, and it'll be fun to see what's here. I feel like there's a lot of benefit of going back to places you've been before because you've already learned something. So now I have this tag, I got 4.5 days to hunt. Hopefully the deer are still in here. This is a pre-rut period for the most part, and the bucks will probably be behaving differently when I was here 3 years ago and it was a November, early December hunt. And as far as what buck I am looking for, I'll steal the line from Matthew. I'll know it when I see it. Oh, there we go. I can't smell us. She's perfectly upwind. Oh no, not that way. I said that way. They're going directly into the wind is what they're doing. Great. They're gonna run right through that spot I wanted to glass. Last time we went and glassed from this big knob up here. You can see in all these drainages and on this shaded north slope, there's a lot more cover and a lot more vegetation. And they'd go bed in there and you'd see one stand up and then disappear. Then you see a different one stand up, they'd disappear. I think a lot of people believe that Coues deer hunting is just you climb up a little hill and you glass and there they are and you walk down and you shoot them. And maybe that's how it is in a lot of places. It's not been any of the places that I've Coues deer hunted. It's a lot of hiking, a lot of glassing. All excited, I found a deer out here all by itself and it was goofing off and I was sure it was a buck. And now I see it's a doe. Far, far away, blends in so good. Confirmation of how hard it is to see these things in the middle of the day. We walked in, we saw 6 of them just on our walk in, and so far Marcus saw one way up here and I saw one down here. That's it so far. And I feel really blessed to get this tag and come down here. The weather's beautiful, there's tons of public land, there's not nearly the hunting pressure that I'm accustomed to in Montana. I can't think of a better way to spend a few days of December chasing these little deer that are really elusive. Well, the sun went behind the mountain about 10 minutes ago and the temperature change is impressive. Not good, but impressive. We saw 15 deer today. One of them we bumped, Marcus said was a little buck. I expected better than that, I'll be honest with you. Maybe that's the consequences of multiple years of drought. 2021, terrible moisture year, probably as hard on these deer as you could imagine because they already had 3 or 4 preceding years that were bad drought. We didn't see very much, but we did see a mountain lion. Both hunts in Arizona this year, we've seen a mountain lion.
That's crazy.
Last time you and I were down here, we saw
That's 3.
It's crazy. I've been on 2 hunts in Arizona this year. 2 for 2 on the mountain lion operation. It's unique and it's neat. They're really cool animals, very interesting. Funny how they make a living out here. You know, all they get to eat with are claws and fangs. That'd be a tough way to go get dinner. So that was probably the highlight of the first day. Walking off the mountain that evening, I'm starting to have some doubts. And it doesn't seem like the deer numbers are what I'd hoped for. Well, we woke up the second day of the hunt. We knew that Scott and Wade would get there that afternoon, and so I told Marcus, I said, let's go and walk this whole rim, and let's start over here on the east side and walk around, and as the sun's coming up, we can count a lot of deer. Taking some digiscope footage here. Well, I've got a total of 8 deer over here. Marcus found a buck and a doe. He's a cool looking buck on this side. I think he's 3 over here, but it's hard to tell what he does on this side because it looks like he's got a second main beam or he's got a point that comes off the inside of the main beam. This is a cool looking buck. I would shoot him the first minute of a hunt. All of a sudden the doe stands up, and the other deer that I'd seen, they've disappeared. And the doe looks over, and whatever it was, she wasn't waiting around. And they ran out of sight. They ran around this great big ridge, and it's like, what the luck? Dang it. Well, we're waiting for those deer over there to bed, and we were gonna make a stalk on them that had that goofy looking buck in it. And something from over to the northeast spooked them because they ran hard west. I mean, ran in a hurry. So I don't know if it's a predator, maybe there's a hunter on the other side of that ridge. Dang it. Let's make a big loop, climb up these big knobs and ridges, and we'll be able to look down into where we think they might have went. It's hot. We're climbing up this south face that's really steep, and I'm sucking air. You have this ridiculously harsh environment, super arid. How would you have made a living out here? For thousands and thousands of years, these indigenous people were able to do that. And you know, the fact that this was what determined if they were gonna eat that day. Whereas us, all right, if I'm a bad hunter, I have a bad day, yeah, I can go to the supermarket and buy some food. That wasn't their option. And that's probably why they had to be so proficient, even with the marginal tools that they had. It causes me to look at landscapes maybe differently than I otherwise would have. And so I hope other folks have an interest in that and learn more about the places they hunt, maybe through the eyes of people who didn't have the tools we have today, who had a more serious consequence of their successes or failures while out hunting. Well, we get up there and we start walking, trying to stay just below the ridge line. The first little place we come to, a deer runs out underneath us. Was it a buck? I couldn't tell. So we keep going and keep going. And we come around this one little spot, and there's no way to look in there without being skylined unless you go way down into the brush. But the brush is so thick you have no visibility. So we're sneaking along, and I peek over and I look.
Just take a peek at him. Oh no, he's getting up, he's getting up. He's running.
He's at least a 3. He might have been a 4. He's not huge, but he's a nice buck. Nah, not today. A couple things going on. One, we'd seen that really nice buck this morning, and he's not. This one here is not close to that one this morning. And I'm sitting in a pile of rocks about this big around in a just terrible shooting situation. So I think tonight we're going to find a better one and I'm going to shoot him. We kept looking. We can't find that buck. We have no idea where he went. And it's so thick. But I told Marcus, I said, you know, over on this northwest side, there's a ridge that runs way out there. It's a little more gradual of a slope, and it's really good bedding cover. And we're working our way through them here, folks. Won't be long. One of them will be the one, Big Hank. We sit down and far away, I see a doe bedded right on the crest of that ridge near a bush. I tell Marcus, I said, there's a doe out there, and Marcus is like, no, it's a buck. I'm like, what? We got to be looking at two different deer. Well, down left of that doe is a buck and another doe.
Nice thinner horn than the last one.
Yeah.
A little bit, but bigger frame.
Yeah, and that one, whatever it would be, a G2 is really tall. This buck is somewhat tempting because he's got a really good frame, but he's just got one great big tine. He's like a great big forky. That buck just laid there and laid there. He had no concern.
What is that? Is that a shooter?
Oh man. If you had longer tines on the front, I would. We got 3 more days. I'm gonna just hold off. Well, total count today was 35 deer, probably 5 bucks. We'd like a better ratio than that, but it's what it is. We can see our camp. It's about a little over a mile from here. Looks like Wade and Scott got in. I see his truck and another tent set up, so we'll probably hunt our way back while there's still a little bit of light.
Well,
Yeah.
did you get him to see me?
Marcus talked me out of it.
That is absolutely false.
That's absolutely false.
All right, Wade.
How are you?
Great. Nice to see you.
You too.
Mr. Jones.
Hey, Randy.
Been a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Where
Where were you at? There's a bunch of quail here, but I didn't bring my gun because I knew that's what all I'd do. Is go
We
shoot
were
a quail.
counting on you because
That's
Wade,
what we're gonna eat for dinner.
come on, you brought your.
I did not. I did not.
We're gonna send you guys off some direction, and you're gonna send up signals. We stayed up that night, you know, plotting strategy, telling a few stories, and we came up with the idea that the next morning, Wade and Scott would jump in Wade's truck and they'd go way around to the other side, some of the stuff we were looking down at that was more low country. And Marcus and I retraced our steps from the prior day. We went kind of north. Another beautiful morning. Sun isn't up, but the moon is so bright you can walk by moonlight easily. Go hunt our way up to that saddle where we saw that buck yesterday. Hopefully he's back in there. I research and study the indigenous cultures wherever it is we're going hunting. The Western Apaches had all kinds of land. They stretch from northern Mexico, what we call Mexico today, way up further north here, then way further west into New Mexico. Here they were living in this ridiculously dry climate, and they had to figure out how to make it. That requires a level of skill, a level of understanding that I don't think I can fully appreciate. You know, whenever I hunt, I don't care where it is, Alaska, Montana, or where I'm at here in Arizona, I always think about how the indigenous people prospered, not just survived, on landscapes that are usually so harsh that I know I couldn't make it. We get up there about the same time, the sun's just breaking over the horizon, perfect timing for glassing. And we sat there until noon, glassing, moving to different spots, glassing here, glassing there. We see one little buck. Marcus sees this little buck working down the ridge, kind of towards us. He's a little guy, a little 3-point like that. I'm like, man, this is the day, this is it. Yesterday we saw 35 deer, today we'll probably see 70. Well, so far I've seen that little buck, and then I saw a mule deer doe and her fawn out here. I'm like, how could there be so many deer in here yesterday? And there's nothing today. You want to come up with an approach that the wind doesn't give you away, but when the wind comes over those big, sharp spines, it does this, and then it creates like this eddy effect. Most of the deer are bedded on the north side, so when you get to the north side, they're gonna smell you and they're gonna sneak out of there. It's a crapshoot. Two does bounce out right below us, and they stand there and look around. They're 160, 150, I don't know, somewhere in there. Man, why couldn't that be that weird looking buck? That'd be such an easy shot. I made it. By the time we get to the top of the ridge, we've seen a whopping 3 deer today, 3 whitetails. And I'm thinking to myself, man, this is really bad. Well, I climbed way up here again, and we're about 300 yards from where we bumped a couple bucks yesterday when I passed on. So right now we got the wind in our face for the first time all day, so hopefully it stays that way. Drop down a little bit further, and all of a sudden there's a deer walking down a deer trail. And I look over to the right, and there's 2 more over here. And it shows me, or reminded me, just how hard these deer are to see. They hadn't seen us, and I'm ranging it 310, something like that. And I'm convinced there's a buck with them. They're still there. We sat there and watched them for probably 20 minutes, and no buck. Like, dang it. And so we're sitting there, and I'm kind of glassing off this side. Marcus is glassing off that side. And I look straight across from us, and I'm like, that looks like a deer. Marcus, there's 2 deer right across from us. They've probably been watching us the whole time. And I told Marcus, I'm like, can you see what that is on the right, that real brown colored one? It looks like a buck, but I don't know for sure.
I cannot tell what he is, Randy. Do you want me to try to put the spotter on him? Yeah.
So Marcus gets the spotter on him, and he's like, it's something, it's a buck, it's a nice buck. So I look at it, I'm like, yeah, that's a shooter. I spin the dial to 285, and finally I tell Marcus, I'm like, I'm shooting this thing.
Hit him.
Using that nozzler suppressor, you can hear the crack of the bullet hitting the animal. And he just took off downhill. Where'd he go?
Down and left. I zoomed all the way into the spotter, so I lost him, but I think you...
I had the feeling, I was 100% confident that it was a perfect shot, but you don't know, right? We've all had that time where we thought it was a perfect shot, and we show up and it, the animal is still moving on. He ran out of frame. He's down here to our left somewhere, so they're so hard to see that I'm gonna walk over here, across the fence. Marcus is gonna mark me to where the shot was, and then I'm gonna follow the blood trail down. I'm walking and Marcus says, I think I see him right down below you. And I look, there he is. He made it, I don't know, not even 20 yards, and he's piled up. He was standing next to that tree up there about, I don't know, 10, 12 yards away. And he was pretty easy to track. He was mopping the hillside with red stuff. Look at that. I mean, look at the mass on that thing. For a Coues buck?
Wow. Congrats.
Oh, thanks. Thanks for all your help. I am so happy with this. I know some people will be like, oh, he doesn't score very well. Folks heard me say it. You either get big or you get ugly. Oh, thank you, buddy. Thank you. Perfect shot came out right there.
He's gotta be old, right? I mean, look how that's
Gray and
that'll be really interesting to age him.
I've never seen one that heavy with that many knots and burrs, and if I could bet, I would bet this buck is over 5 years old. I'm just thankful for how it all worked out.
Backpack full of Coues deer.
Yeah, good feeling. It was fun to get back to camp, tell the story with Scott and Wade.
Gnarly, freaking knotted buck.
Really cool. He likes them ugly, Randy.
We cooked tenderloins and backstraps last night on my tailgate. I came here, got to learn and go to school on the hunt I had here 3 years ago. Got to share it with Marcus and Scott and Wade, and I'm trying to think what more fun I could have had.
Inspected by Wade Zarlingo.
Cool. You know what? It doesn't get much better, really.
I just feel really, really blessed to get to do it.